Hello Guardians, my name is Xcalion, and today I just wanted to drop a video with some thoughts that I have on the current sandbox, the current version of Destiny 2 that we have, Beyond Light, kind of what I think about some things and some improvements that I think that they could make to the game. And I just want to start off by saying that regardless of how you feel about Destiny as a game, it's a game that continues to draw gamers back time and time again. Like, I know several players who started off with Destiny 1 and then maybe dropped off and then came back and then maybe started in Destiny 2 and then, fell off and then came back. And I just want to say that there's something about this game that certainly tends to draw people back after they've been gone for a while. And it's several things, right? Like people that like the Destiny 1 and then they see that they bring back a lot of Destiny 1 stuff and they want to be a part of it. Or maybe it's, some weapons or some armor or some loot. Or maybe it's their friends, which is, I think, the main one for me, I think, is I think that friends tend to draw people back. Now, I think that there's a number of things that they could do to make this game more consistent and make this game more friendly to its actual player base. And I want to start off with, I think the number one thing that I think is it for most gamers, and that's going to be loot. And I'm going to break this down into a couple of categories. So for loot, the first category I'm going to say is the blue gear, right? So blue gear in Destiny 2. There's too much of it, right? Like, they sunset a bunch of stuff. It seems like a lot of blue stuff didn't get sunset at all. And you just keep getting it over and over again. Every activity I do, I know that at the end of it, I'm going to get 2 to 3 drops. One of those could turn into a legendary. And the exception of strikes, if I'm doing strikes, I know I'm at least going to get 2 or 3 drops during the strike itself. So the problem is this stuff becomes basically just fodder. You're just going to delete it, you're just going to dismantle it and turn it into gunsmith materials. Maybe you get a little bit of glimmer for it, but overall it's just kind of pointless. And I think that they can definitely fix this. Now, I'll go over an idea that I have later regarding what we can do with gunsmith materials that we get for all of these things, but I think primarily blues just need to be dumbed down altogether. They need to be phased out, and whenever you're doing end-game activity, the closer you get to the pinnacle cap, which I'm at this week, maybe start getting more purple stuff, Give us the ability to at least get legendary shards whenever we dismantle that stuff instead. And, I don't think they're going to do away with blues altogether. They never did in Destiny 1. But another thing that we always had in Destiny 1, we still had whites that dropped sometimes. We still had greens that dropped sometimes. But there's just too many blues, and I just think there's not enough stuff to do with them. And coming in at number 2 on my loot list is armor. The armor, whenever you look at games like The Division, you know that a certain armor set is going to provide you certain stats. And I think that is something that Destiny could use drastically. As of right now, we have to farm over and over and over for rolls on armor that have good mobility or good recovery or good intellect. And every now and then, I will say one thing this season I think that they did that was very good. The vendors now sell armor. And this week, I can go to Zavala on my hunter. I can get armor that's got really high recovery and intellect. I actually got it. It's the best arms that I have for my character currently. And that's allowed me to almost get 100 in 2 of my categories. And I think that's great. But I think that they could share a system that they have in The Division, which is whenever you have the armors, as I said before, certain brands of armor, certain armor sets provide certain stats. And I think that would be great. You know that the armor that you get is going to have a certain stat, and you could even tie those armors to certain activities and give people a reason to farm those activities. Like right now, there's just not really a good reason to do that, not realistically. So I think it's really simple. Just tie some of those activities to give you certain armor drops, and then those armor drops have the potential to give you certain stat drops. I think it's pretty simple. And coming in at number 3 on my loot list is what we can do with those gunsmith materials, and that's crafting. Now, canonically, we have a gunsmith in the game, Banshee 44, a beloved character loved by almost everybody, except in Destiny 2, he's kind of useless. He doesn't do much for you. In fact, you take those gunsmith materials, and what do you do with them? You turn them in 100 at a time, which is ridiculous, if you ask me. You turn them in 100 at a time, and you get, you know you're going to get a weapon drop. It's not going to be an armor drop. You know it's going to be a weapon. You know it's going to be from this loot pool. But here's what I think you can do with that. You can have the ability to craft a certain type of weapon. Say I want to farm a slug shotgun. So I go to a menu, I have slug shotguns, and I can farm one of the slug shotguns that are in the actual loot pool right now. I think the only one that's in the normal loot pool is first in, last out. But my point is, it's hard enough to farm for, let's say, the auto-loading Vorpal weapon roll. It would be so much nicer to have an actual method for the farming, right? Like know what I'm going to get. And don't get me wrong, they've played around with this a few times. You know, you could do it with the last season with the Umbral engrams. It was pretty cool, you know, but why not just give that to the gunsmith? It just seems to make more sense. That way you don't have to keep taking that activity out of the game. People will always be able to farm for those weapons, for those weapon rolls, for armor, whatever it is. We have a gunsmith. Give us the ability to use him. For the second category on this list, I chose to go with trials, and I'm going to break that down into 3 subcategories. And initially, I want to talk about adept weapons. Now, what is an adept weapon? It is a weapon that has, whenever you masterwork it, normally you masterwork a weapon and you get plus 10 to that randomized category. With Trials weapons, you masterwork it, you get plus 10 to that randomized category, as well as, I believe it is plus 2 or 3 to all of the additional categories. Not only that, they also come with a shader that's kind of meh, but it's exclusive to the Trials weapons, so it's cool, I guess. And they can also equip the Adept mods. And the Adept mods can only be obtained also by going flawless, and there's a handful of them in the game, but they're coming out one a week. And so far, I believe we have the enhanced target acquisition, which gives you like plus 10 to target acquisition, but cuts your stability by 20. It's really kind of bad. And then you have the enhanced magazine, which gives you plus 10 to your magazine, but cuts your handling. And then this week is actually the range one, which just gives you a plus 10 to range at no down cost. Now let's talk about Celerity, which is a perk that can roll on Trials weapons, any Trials weapon, and it's just okay. Basically, whenever you're the last surviving member of your fire team, you get a boost to your movement speed, your handling, and I believe your target acquisition, which is okay, but it's, you know, situational. You do have to be the last person alive on your fire team to even really use this perk. And it just makes sense to be a perk that is intrinsic on Trials weapons. And maybe not Trials weapons in general, but I believe wholeheartedly, at the very least, at least Adept Trials weapons should certainly get this as an intrinsic perk. I've also heard a few people say that maybe Adept weapons should have 2 mod slots, one for a regular mod and one for the Adept mod. I don't know, I think that could be a little too broken. Maybe if you made it where you couldn't stack certain kinds of mods, I don't know, but I'd just say avoid that in general. Leave the 1 mod. The Adept mods can only be placed on the Adept weapons, so I don't think that that's too broken. And the second subcategory for this is going to be Trials tokens. And what can we do with them? So, don't get rid of our Trials tokens, Bungie. Just don't. It's a kind of a douchebag move, you know, to take away the Trials tokens that we worked very hard to get. And I see some of these streamers that, you know, they have their Trials tokens and they burn them to get like God roll loot, and they'll burn like several hundred at a time, or even 1,000 in some cases, I think. We're not all sweatlords, okay? It's not easy for most of us to get Trials tokens. Usually I walk away with spending, I think, 60 or maybe 80 at a time if I'm lucky, after a good session, and I can get a few random drops that way. But I have a better idea for you. Instead of getting rid of our trials tokens, and at the same time covering subcategory 3, which is the flawless chest, I want to suggest giving us a chest similar to that of the Deepstone Crypt raid at the final encounter when you complete it, and you get to open a chest and you get your rewards from it, but it acts as a vendor. You can turn in the spoils of conquest for random things, maybe for a chance to get a weapon that you haven't gotten yet, or to get a definite roll on a weapon that maybe you want to get a better roll on. You're not going to get a definite roll, but to farm for that roll. And I think that that's great. I think that that's very helpful and very beneficial. And it can give you something to do with your trials tokens for streamers or for whatever. It's just, I think, is better than wasting them, than getting them and then taking them away every week. And also, I think that this maybe will convince players to actually, maybe more people to try to go flawless, or more people to get into the activity to do it. And that's my goal, right? Because as it stands, the only people that are in this activity are sweat lords, and that's not made for everybody, right? And granted, I know Trials is an endgame PvP activity. It's not made for everybody. But more people in a playlist is a good thing, no matter how you slice it. And I think that maybe working on these couple of steps will really help Trials. The last thing that I really wanted to talk about, it'll be a category all its own, is going to be curated rewards. And I think that this would actually be very beneficial for Trials. Let's say specifically, you go flawless, you get your adept weapon, and if you're anything like me, and you went flawless last week, and you got an Astral Horizon with Slide Shot and Swashbuckler, yeah, that's what I got. This is a good way to give it to people, to give people roles that I think that they will like, that they will use, that they will enjoy. Whatever. Give people a quick draw opening shot Astral Horizon. I don't care. Guys, it works. It worked with Fellwinters. It works with some of our, with our ritual guns that people like using. There's nothing wrong with it. And I'm not saying give them the curated role every time, but the first flawless passage on a character should be a curated role. And then after that, you can give them the random rolls, okay? And that's really all I'm coming down to on this, is give people curated roles for pinnacle activities. Okay, let them do that. I mean any activity. I mean Master, Grandmaster, Nightfalls, whatever. We have Adept strike weapons coming soon for people to do the Grandmaster. I think that's great. Give them these kinds of rewards and they will be more likened to do these activities. If I know I'm going to get a God Roll shotgun whenever I complete this activity, I'm going to be more enthusiastic about completing said activity. I think everybody will be. I think that random rolls are great, and for the long time, Destiny 2 was nothing but curated rolls. I think that you can have the best of both worlds, and I think that that is absolutely a beautiful thing. And I do want to touch on one last topic that is just kind of thrown in here, something that I know will help benefit the game, and something that might rub a few people the wrong way, but I'm sorry, this is just my opinion. I'm certainly entitled to it. Sunsetting. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think that it's, for the most part, a good thing. I think that getting rid of content that people aren't playing is a good thing. It helps increase the number of people playing other activities, as well as, dumbs down the size of the game, or, whatever, which is seems to be a big problem with Destiny as it stands right now. I think sunsetting is a good thing, but it's got to be done the right way. And don't take away, for the love of God, Bungie, don't take away the activities that people enjoy. Menagerie, I think a lot of people actually enjoyed forges, gave people a way to farm weapons. And not only that, but, I think some of the weapons, don't sunset a weapon that came out a year ago. It sucks. We still started this campaign, this expansion, and we didn't have any good weapons to start it off with. I'm not saying that, we should, get good or whatever. I just think that you could have handled it a little bit better, and I think moving forward, it would be beneficial towards the whole community to do so. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the people at Bungie are idiots or anything like that. I think that they know what they're doing. They've been making this game for a long time now, and I think that they just need to do things a little bit smarter, is all I'm suggesting. And for the most part, guys, that's really all I have. And you, please, absolutely, let me know in the comments section what you think about these ideas, or any changes that maybe you would like to see implemented into Destiny 2, or even a Destiny 3, should that ever happen. I know we have a plan for at least a couple of years for Destiny 2, but that's neither here nor there. I do appreciate you for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, share the video, and I will see you all very soon, my friends. Bye-bye.